All right. So we're back here on another Overreaction Monday. Man, recapping week 15 of the NFL season. Bro, I tell you, every week I come here and I be like, I cannot believe we done been through 15 weeks of the NFL season.
Bro, I can't believe. I mean, we're going to get into stuff, but I can't
Yeah.
believe things look the way they look in week 15 of the NFL season. I can't believe
Yes.
outcomes of games have happened up to this point. And it's like, we thought we've had the craziest weeks. What was it when the Cowboys lost, the Bills lost, like everybody who played on Thanksgiving lost that Sunday. Oh man, It can't get no crazier than that. Like, when's the last time that happened? Teams lost games they weren't supposed to, and then boom, like we turn around and you know what I'm saying? What? Multiple Super Bowl contenders, not even just playoff contenders, multiple Super Bowl contenders literally lost in bad ways that they shouldn't have. Like double-digit favorites and you lose, like Goff yesterday with the Bucks not scoring a point. Like,
right.
They've been shut out 6, and you got shut out against the Saints.
Yesterday was by far a wild week, right? Like a lot of stuff I did not think was going to happen, but a lot has happened. So, your biggest winner this week, Mo, what you got?
All right, so I never try and be selfish. I always try not to be selfish. I never like to bring my team into it. I wasn't impressed with our victory. I really wasn't. Listen, After we won, I was upset about it. I'm like, okay, in a betting world, we covered. In every aspect, you're like, okay, well, you can accept it. Well, I'm concerned. I was concerned when we played. We were the first of the teams play outside of Arizona, where I'm looking at possible contenders in the NFC, and I'm like, man, 21 points against a Giants defense, a depleted Giants team. Like, our offense not looking good, but it's got to be Dallas. Like, they're not the only winner, but we went to bed last night, and Dallas is second in the NFC. They win a tiebreaker. Right now, they're tied with Arizona and they're tied with Tampa. They win the tiebreaker against both of those teams because of their conference record. And Dallas does play Arizona, which could improve their conference record. But check this. If Dallas, Tampa, and Arizona all lose one more game and they all go in tied, Dallas still wins the tiebreaker. It's crazy to me. We could lose to Arizona, we've already lost to Tampa, be tied at the end of the season, and we win the tiebreaker because we have a better conference record. So that's, with Dallas really being there, they're second in the NFC. I didn't think at 10-4, I really, coming into the season, I said they're a 10-11 win team. I think anywhere between 9 and 11, so I figured 9-8. Our ceiling was probably 11-6. And I mean, it's possible that we could finish 13-4. Like if we went out, we got some tough games, 2 division games. Like you said, when it comes to the NFC East, especially, you got to throw record out the window. In a game against Arizona, who's kind of sliding downwards. So by the time, we'll see what they do next week, but by the time they play Dallas, like that game's going to mean probably everything as far as who's going to be where in the standings. And, you don't want to say teams aren't avoiding teams in the playoffs, but you have your eye on somebody you want to play. You have your eye on somebody you don't want to play. And right now, like the loser of the NFC West, I don't want to have to play in the first round, whether it be the Rams or the Cardinals. And I don't want to have to play San Francisco. Like right now, we will have to play San Francisco. I don't want to play San Francisco. Like that's not a team. They're rolling. They're trending upward. They're back healthy. They're getting healthier. They look like they're going to come into the playoffs fairly healthy, barring any other major injury. So that's what you're paying attention to. But with Dallas getting the win on a night where, thought Arizona was going to beat Detroit, thought Tampa was a lock to beat, New Orleans. So I figured we would have finished the night still a game behind with, projecting playing Arizona. So for Dallas to be second in the NFC right now, behind Green Bay with winning tiebreakers, essentially possibly locking up the tiebreaker because the Cardinals, all 4 of their losses are in the NFC and so are the Bucks. So the Cowboys could lose 2 of their next 3, but if they tie with Arizona and Tampa, they ultimately win that tiebreaker. So, and I just thought it was crazy that if Dallas loses to Arizona and Tampa, but they all 3 have the same record, Dallas wins the tiebreaker, even though they lost head-to-head. That's crazy in itself. I forget when it's not head-to-head first. Head-to-head matters after NFC conference record. I thought it was head-to-head first. No, it's conference record first. Then if that's tied, then you go to the head-to-head. So I just got celebrated a little bit with Dallas being second in the NFC. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Hey, but I thought the same thing too, because I look at now New Orleans is 7-7, but I remember they have a worse NFC record, divisional record, not division, but a conference record. And that's why I was like, we still be in if we were to win tomorrow night. So I kept on saying like, well, we lost to them, but then I forgot they're like 5-4, and we're like, no, they're like 4-4, something like that. And then we're like 5-3, but if we win, obviously it would be 6-3 in the conference. And then I know.
And I got one more. I got one more to go off. Dan Campbell, not just the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell. They are now what? 2-11-1.
Yeah.
So they're 2-11-1. They tied against Pittsburgh, who's a team who looks like, they could be in the playoffs. They beat Arizona, a team that, whether you're sold on them or not, with their record prior to going into that game, you had to consider them NFC Championship contenders. So a team that could possibly reach the Super Bowl, they beat them. And then, God, who else did Detroit beat? Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah.
So you beat, like, your 2 victories are against playoff teams. I mean, as of right now, Minnesota's a playoff team. And then you tied against Pittsburgh, who's a playoff team. And then, like, your close losses against, you hung in there for the first half against Green Bay. Of course, Green Bay, they finally took off, but you had a lot of, a close game against Green Bay. Should have really essentially beat Baltimore. And so I think the Lions, with as depleted as they are, no DeAndre Swift, no Jamal Williams, their starting running back was brought up from the practice squad earlier this week because they knew they weren't going to have Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. So with all that, and then Jared Goff and all the flack he gets, for them to have been competitive as much as they have this year, for them to have 2 wins and a tie, so basically 2.5 wins, at a point we thought Detroit wouldn't win a game. After that Baltimore game, we're like, okay, this is the closest they're going to come to winning a game. Then they tied with Pittsburgh, and we're like, okay, so they won't be the first team to finish 0-17. And then they keep getting hit with injuries. So a bad team, arguably the worst team in the NFL, getting hit with injuries, really shouldn't stack up. So I think Detroit winning, like, even if they finish 14-1, that might save Dan Campbell's job because they have been competitive. There has been some positives. I guess it's unbelievable to say that when you're 2-11-1, but there have been some positives. And what I will say is, I think that team and that roster buys into whatever Dan Campbell's, like, I think they're trusting the process. And with a team that depleted coming into the season, losing some of your best players, Jeff Okudah, was out for the season prior to even playing a game. So I think they're buying in. I think the organization kind of stands behind Dan Campbell. I think the players stand behind Dan Campbell. And so with players that, and then end up winning a couple of games and being in close games against championship contenders, against playoff, teams and stuff like that, I think it's one of those, you got to trust the process. And I think Dan Campbell will come back as a Detroit Lions head coach. I think everybody would give up on Detroit as an organization, if you haven't already, if they don't bring Dan Campbell back, because at 2-11-1, and like I said, all those close games they played, I think he's done enough to secure his job. And we all thought this was a lock to be the worst team in the NFL and possibly go 0-17. So shout out to Dan Campbell for getting huge victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Not only did you win, not only did it not come down to the wire, you controlled the game from start to finish. Arizona never had a chance.
Yeah. That was also one of my biggest winners. Also, definitely this is a fact of, like we talked about, the Lions. Without those would be historically bad. They took care of business and they beat the best team in the NFC record wise. And and that game wasn't close. Like they had control of that game from the start. And that's always one of the things where you want those type of wins to kind of propel you into 2022. And especially Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a hell of a game. I think he went 21 for 26, 216 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I think that was, that's another one where I think that could definitely help. They may not be in the Aiden Hutchinson sweepstakes at this point potentially, but hey,
you might get Kayvon Thibodeau as a
right.
Surprise. If everybody's buying into Aiden Hutchinson, who's a great player, you might get the other great defensive end in Kayvon Thibodeau. You might get one or the other. So,
right. So it's a win-win.
Best weapon. available for Jared Goff. You start building that receiver core. I don't know. You get another offensive lineman, build a strong foundation. If you plan on moving on from Jared Goff, you're going to bring a quarterback in who's going to be well protected, because we know Sewell has had a great year as an offensive lineman. Back down from nobody. We've seen him get into it with Aaron Donald. So there's some light for Detroit, especially because I think at least right now in year one, they got the right guy as a coach. I mean, is Detroit ever going to win a Super Bowl? Probably not. So, like, the expectation can't be building a Super Bowl contender. That's what you want, but you're Detroit at the same time. You get no free agents, but it's just like, man, to see guys like Dan Campbell and you count him out and he doesn't deserve a job. He caught flack, but, you know, his first his opening interview and everything like that, and, you know, his hyperboles that he has, you know, but they buy into it. It seems like the player, they have a coach that guys want to play for, and that's where it starts. When you start building a culture, building a foundation, the first thing a coach needs to do is have a system, a culture that players are going to buy into. And at the very least, it seems like everybody in Detroit has bought in and stand behind Dan Campbell. So I think that's huge for the future, especially when you talk about being a bad team, getting some great players coming in. I think that's big time.
Yeah, then the other one I really want to discuss too that really has playoff implications. It's a double whammy. So obviously the Colts, the biggest winner. Obviously, I think with them beating New England, that was definitely a solid win. That was kind of one of the games that kind of counted his help. Everybody got a taste of Jonathan Taylor and his exploits. So it looks like they're really, this is by far, that one of their toughest games. Obviously, they got a game on Christmas Day against Arizona. I think if they take care of business, this could be a legitimate shot. And now you look at, especially now, the way things in the AFC, where it's such a log jam for that, for those last two spots. But then in that win, we know Carson Wentz did hit his 70% snap total. Once again, even though this team doesn't play until tomorrow night, but can we say the Philadelphia Eagles once again pulling off that conditional first round pick now? And now it's a first round pick. It was supposed to be a conditional pick. Now it's turned pick. So now the Philadelphia Eagles have 3 first round picks. So that could bode well when it comes to maybe trading for a quarterback, one in Houston potentially. But that sweetens the pot. That definitely sweetens the pot for Houston potentially if they want to try to obtain Deshaun Watson. So. So it's kind of a double whammy with Carson Wentz hitting that 70% snap mark. Now the Eagles, they're in prime position to get some assets.
And Philly might be able to get Deshaun Watson without having to give up their future. Like, they might be able to just get rid of them 3 first-round picks this year, bring in Deshaun Watson, because we know that makes Philly better today if they just bring in Deshaun Watson. Keep their 2nd through 7th picks. Maybe they give up one more player, and then they can continue to build over the next few years because they don't lose their future first-round picks. I get, having 3, but I never like to put trust in rookies when I can put trust in a guy that I know could get it done. We know Devontae Smith is a good wide receiver. We know that Dallas Goedert is a good tight end. We know Rager has potential. He may never reach it, but at the same time, you can find a receiver. I mean, this class is so deep. You get a guy in the 2nd round to play alongside. Miles Sanders, when handed the ball, is a solid running back. They've had guys who stepped in when Miles Sanders has been hurt. Boston Scott has done it. So, to be able to go ahead and knock it out and get Deshaun Watson without having to really give up anything in the future, give up your immediate future next year. Don't have a lot to build around as far as in first-round picks, but you start picking your pieces, grabbing your pieces through free agency. I think guys would still go to Philly, especially you get Deshaun Watson. Watch out. Chris Godwin could be a free agent. Bucks might not bring him back. The price tag might be too high. Just something to pay attention to. If Deshaun Watson goes, Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin, hey, that changes the whole aspect of Philly on the offensive side. Start getting your linemen or whatever protecting Deshaun Watson. But, 3 first-round picks in one draft, and even sending Jalen Hurts to Houston could get the job done, because they will have 4 first-round picks they would have 4 first-round picks off of that, and they would have Jalen Hurts, so they wouldn't have to throw a quarterback in the fire. And if they like Davis Mills enough, then they could ask for something else instead of Jalen Hurts. So, Philly just cured if Deshaun Watson wants to go to Philly, Philly might just cure that.
Yeah, because at this point, because you think about it, that would be a selling point. And even if I'm Houston, I'll take Jalen Hurts, because even now, even if anything, these next 4 weeks, these are pivotal games for him. So it's like, we're going to see what he's all about in these next few weeks. And to me, he's definitely an upgrade to Tyron and David. If you can include him in that, so I mean, you might as well. But yeah, big time. So before we get into our biggest loser, we definitely gotta give a huge shout out to the good folks at Built Bar. Built Bar is a truly a standout among protein bars with its exceptional nutritional profile and so many delicious flavors. Use our promo code off the ball, which will provide you, your friends, and your family with a 10% off discount. Go to the website builtbar.com. Use our promo code off the ball. So, Mo, who's your biggest loser in week 15 of the NFL season?
Man, there's a lot of losers, a lot of losing teams, a lot of ways you can look at it. And I'm gonna do this because I hate doing it because I wanted him to succeed, but it's Cam Newton. Cam Newton is the loser. I mean, he carried the ball, zone. He threw a touchdown pass. Cool. He was 18 for 38, 157 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. For a lot of times, they couldn't get the ball across the 50. They struggled a lot. Then they couldn't cap off drives. 3rd and 1, on Buffalo side, and then it ends up 4th and 1. They go for it. They can't get it. They were putting a lot of spots where, outside of the first win when Cam Newton came back and played limited snaps, he just hasn't been very good. And so you almost thought this was going to be the last stop, because even if they bring Cam Newton back next year and they draft a quarterback or whatever, what does that really do? I don't think Cam Newton, they said at this point, this was the healthiest he was. He said it himself. So if this is the best version of you health-wise and this is what you look like, your career has kind of come to either you're going to have to humble yourself and take that you're willing to be a backup route, or, you might have to kick rocks. That's a possibility. So, I mean, Cam Newton's definitely probably the biggest loser if we go the individual route. If we go, the team route, it's got to be the Arizona Cardinals. First off, you lost to Detroit, so you got to be the biggest loser there. 1, because you lost to Detroit. But 2, when you see how the rest of the day panned out, you have a matchup against Dallas that it was going to be important regardless, but Dallas looked vulnerable as well. So you're okay, Dallas didn't look the greatest, but then Tampa loses. So you could have remained ahead of Dallas and Tampa by a game with a future matchup in 2 weeks against Dallas. So essentially you could have put it to where you end up playing Dallas. You're 2 games ahead. All you got to do is handle business. You don't have to worry about Dallas after you beat them. You got 1 more game after that. And you just have to win in week 17. And you secure the 2 seed, and you pretty much secure your division. Now, you can't lose because you're paying attention to what the Rams do. You have to mirror what the Rams do. So if they lose, you really need to win to stay ahead. But if they win, you got to win. So it turns into must-win games. So if the Rams beat the Seahawks, and then whoever they play next week, if they win, now it becomes must win. There's a lot of pressure for Arizona because you want to win the division. You really don't want your consolation prize to be the 5th seed playing one of Green Bay, LA, Dallas, or Tampa on the road. You don't want to have to do that, especially when you had such a good season. But losing to Detroit and losing leverage, not only in your conference, but just in the tiebreaker that you could possibly come to at the end of the season between you, Green Bay, LA, Dallas, and Tampa. And with Tampa losing, it made that loss even worse because you could have been a game ahead of Dallas and Tampa. And now you don't, as of today, you don't win the tiebreaker with Dallas because of your conference record. I think they have the same conference record as Tampa. I'd have to look. I know they got the same amount of losses in the conference. I don't know who has more wins at this point. I think it's about the same. So essentially, with losing to Detroit, boom, you deserve to be the biggest loser. But then that you lost in the conference and in the division, that's big time. I mean, if your offense is going to look that bad, without DeAndre Hopkins, then that's a cause for concern. And I mean, we don't even know if he'll be ready for week 1 of the playoffs. Arizona's best bet would be to win out and hope Green Bay drops 2 of their last 3 so they could essentially get that first round bye. Obviously, the more time you give for DeAndre Hopkins to heal, the better. But I don't think you'll see 100% of DeAndre Hopkins in the playoffs. So, I mean, if that's what your offense is going to look like against a Detroit defense, then I can only imagine what it's going to look like in the playoffs against a Dallas defense, against Tampa's run defense, and their secondary is about to come back healthy. Winfield and Richard Sherman will be coming back. Against Green Bay's defense, they'll be back healthy. Jai Alexander will be, up and running really 100% by then. So that's kind of the biggest against the Rams defense. You know what I'm saying? Like they're COVID ridden, but they'll be back. They'll be ready for the playoffs, and they're ready to go tomorrow night. A lot of those guys came back. So to lose leverage to me is the biggest problem. Why I have to consider Arizona the biggest loser.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, and that's one thing we talk about now, where we look back at this, especially like Arizona, they don't get a number one seed. First thing we're gonna think about all that loss to Detroit. Like, that's one thing we always gonna fall back on. Another team that we might look at too, that might be a few extra points away from potentially being in the playoffs, but now the Baltimore Ravens at 8-6. A team that is outside of the play are in the hunt. Like we kind of alluded to earlier, Mo, where there was a team that looked that conference once upon a time, and for them to, that's another one. That's another one where it down to the wire, and they went for 2 instead of kicking that field goal. And I know people say, well, you got Aaron Rodgers, this and third, but at the same token, you still got to get your, what if you would have won that coin flip and you would have been an offense, and Huntley could have drove them down the field? And that's the whole thing about where you got to know, not when you're in a predicament like that, because what's going to happen, this team don't make the playoffs. They're going to look at that game, and they're going to look at the Pittsburgh game as 2 of the games that they should have at least won those games because of the execution. So and then the thing about it is they came back. So things where it's just like, I mean, it could have been easy for them to lose this football game, but they came back and to a point where, hey, they had a chance to tie this football game, and then obviously what they do, go for 2. That's another one. Then another team, the Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna tell you one thing, because I'll put it this way, because they're not the number 1 seed anymore. I'm telling you, that's another. The teams that we've been talking about that once upon a time had a number 1 seed, and now what y'all done did? Y'all done gave the key back to Kansas City, and it's one of those things where it's just like, there's another one. Even though Tennessee, they've still got a shot to be that number 1 seed because it's only. But in that same token, you want that number 1 seed. I don't care what, especially for them. I think out of any team that needs it more than any team in the AFC, it's got to be Tennessee, because that buys you another week, and hopefully Derrick Henry comes back the third. Well, in this case, it would be the 4th week of January, because obviously if they want to get that bye, they would play they would play that divisional round. So you would hope that that you get that, but for this week and this week only, it's got to be between Tennessee and Baltimore, because those are just, because those are gonna be the games. These are gonna be the games that you're gonna look at and be like, damn, we should have won these football games. And that could be that these are like season defining losses potentially for these 2 teams.
And you know what's crazy? Everybody says, well, you would have took a chance of giving the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, you also would have took the chance of getting the ball first. Like, correct. You would have left it up to a coin toss. Yes, if Aaron Rodgers gets the ball and scores, maybe it looks like a bad idea, but you didn't even give yourself an opportunity. You didn't give yourself an opportunity to win that game. Right. I mean, essentially win that game. Like, let it go in overtime. You've been playing tick for tack. Maybe you hold Green Bay to a field goal. Maybe Rodgers does march it down the field, but you hold him to a field goal. You give Huntley the ball back. Green Bay's defense wasn't able to stop you. I know analytics probably tell you that was the best. End it there, end it now. But they played like a team that wasn't on the cusp of, like you said, now after that loss, you're on the outside looking in.
Right.
And you're not winning. Clearly, if all these teams went out, you don't win the tiebreaker. So you don't win your division and you don't make the playoffs. And it comes like you got to leave things to chance. Analytics will tell you that was a good one, a good play call, and I get it. But we also watched you just watched the team leave points on the board on Thursday in the Chargers, and they lost that game. And now it puts them vulnerable, because every game now for Baltimore, for Buffalo, for the Chargers, for Cincinnati, every game is must win from here on out. Like, you need to win, because you can't put your fate in another team's hands, you need to keep it in your hands. And so if everybody in the AFC, the top 7 and out, then they'll be, set in the playoffs. We just don't know where. But at the same time, like, I don't know, man. I'm big into, bro, take it to overtime. Not when something's on the line. Like you said, that's big because you're in the hunt now. Like, and you watched certain teams play already. Like a couple of those teams had already won a game. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you're paying attention to that, Cincinnati scoreboard, that Cincinnati-Denver scoreboard, because that concerns you. First off, Cincinnati's a division foe, but second off, like Denver would be right there at 8-6 had they won that game. So I'm just not big on leaving points on the field. I watched the Chargers do it, and I said, when they kept going for it on 4th down, I said they're going to regret it. You got to kick the field goal. You don't leave points on the field, especially playing against a Patrick Mahomes. You don't leave points on the field. Playing against an Aaron Rodgers, take your chance. Maybe your defense steps up. Maybe you get the coin toss, and Green Bay hadn't stopped you all night. Like, I'd rather take that chance when essentially my playoff are on the line.
Right. And I agree with you on right. And that's the thing where people like, this is my thing. If Rodgers would have beat me in overtime, I can live with that because I can literally say I can live with that. If I lose a football game because the game was tied. Well, no, they weren't tied. It was 31-30, but I decided to go for 2 versus, and I've already failed 2 weeks ago previously. I failed in this situation when I lost to Pittsburgh, a divisional game at that. So I would live with, okay, we go 31-31. Let's go to overtime. Aaron beat us on a drive, even like what Patrick Mahomes did with the Chargers. I can live with that because, like you said, in the toss is a 50-50 chance. So at the end of the day, like you said, this ain't September. This ain't in the beginning of the year. You want to get cute and all this type of stuff. It's December. Like you are not. If the regular season ended today, you would not make the playoffs. And so it's just you can't. This time you have to. That was important. That was extremely important, and they dropped that ball big time on that one. But
definitely.
Yeah, crazy. But so before our overreactions this week in week 15 of the NFL season, we definitely got to get another huge shout out to Bet US. So definitely them. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, and they offer a 125% signing bonus. Use our promo code off the ball, and that's in all caps, at sign up. So head over to betus.com. Use our promo code off the ball and your 125% sign in bonus. So Mo, got to go into your overreaction for week 15 of the NFL.
Because I'm like, my biggest overreaction, man. And I've been thinking about this all day. It's not like I didn't prepare. I don't know. I'm not great with overreacting. So like I said one of my overreactions was that Dan Campbell winning that game saved his job. He'll be the head coach in Detroit next year. I guess some people may agree, some people may disagree, but if you had higher expectations, if you thought Detroit was about to be a 6 or 7 win team, then I kind of question your opinion. While you're over there questioning mine, I question yours. But man, I really want to say my biggest overreaction is that Baltimore won't make the playoffs. Like you pointed it out, but we could talk about the 2 game. It's going to come down to that 2-point conversion. Like that play call could be known as the play call and why they don't make it to the playoffs. Because winning out doesn't do it. You're tied and you lose with the seeding. You look at the 8-6 teams that you're behind. You lose the tiebreaker with all those guys. That's why you're outside looking in. So you might not now win. You could have been a game ahead of your division had you took chance gone in overtime. Say you win in overtime. Now you're a game ahead of Cincinnati, who ended up winning as 3-point underdogs in Denver. To now, like you're on the outside looking in. And that's a big deal with Buffalo rolling, with Kansas City rolling, even though Kansas City really isn't relevant to this conversation. But The Chargers have been so up and down. Baltimore's been so up and down. Cincinnati been so up and down. Pittsburgh, all those teams have been so up and down, but you don't control your own destiny. Being on the outside looking in, tied with like 4 or 5 other teams at 8-6, you don't control your own destiny. And so I think that play call of going for 2 keeps Baltimore out of the playoffs. I do not think Baltimore is going to the playoffs. And it's forget the Pittsburgh game. Late in the season, at that point with chips on the line, they made the wrong call, Harbaugh, and stand by it. Stand by your call. Don't let nobody tell you different. But it was the wrong call. Should have chanced the coin flip. Should have chanced the possibility of holding Aaron Rodgers to a field goal. Should have chanced anything. Should have chanced your defense to step up because your offense was playing great. Whatever. But you should have left it to chance and lived with the decision of going into overtime and taking your chance there and just allowing the fact that you lost to a great player in overtime instead of basically taking it out of your hands. And you left it up for luck anyway. You went for 2. Right. You might miss out and need to recover an onside kick, right? Like, you knew if you missed this,
you're done.
You recover the onside kick. So nobody recovers onside kicks essentially. Like that chance is way higher than is way lower than your chance of winning the game in overtime and winning a coin toss because you walk on to the middle of the field with a 50-50 opportunity once that coin gets flipped. All right, cool. Maybe, they got a 25% chance of winning the game if they give Aaron Rodgers the ball first, whatever. But you had like a 0.5% chance of recovering that onside kick and scoring to be able to win the game anyway. So you left it to such a small possibility anyway. So, yeah, I think Baltimore misses on that playoffs, and we're going to look back and be like, it was because you went for 2. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, because they got a tough stretch. Next week is going to be the defining game, obviously, with Cincinnati next week. Then they got the Chargers, but the Rams, and then they close in Pittsburgh. So, close against Pittsburgh. But yeah, Kansas City Chiefs, they're gonna go on. I think they're gonna be 13-4. I don't see them losing the rest of the season, rest of this year. Well, rest of the NFL regular season. I put it that way. They, and with them being 13-4, they will be the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think they're gonna remain that because at this point, they're back. They're back. I mean, like you said, and I thought about it because a lot of people say their offense kind of fell off, but I think it's more so of just our height expectations because they've been such a well-oiled machine. Most cases, we would love to have an offense like that. Like, you could dream about it, especially on my end. I would love to have an offense that's been like this for the last 3 years and kind of tail off. Like, I'll take that,
And tailing off is most offenses.
Like, hey, I would take that Christmas to have a prolific offense for the last half years. I'll take that.
100%. Multiple Super Bowl appearances, a Super Bowl championship. I'd take their last 3-year run. AFC championship, Super Bowl win, Super Bowl appearance, number 1 team in the 4th year. I'd take that run. I'd take that run any day.
And I think they're gonna march in. I really now. And plus, I had them going to the Super Bowl, so hey, it's going, it helps me out.
I had Kansas City going anyway, so it's like, I'm not, and I didn't panic when they were down bad this year because it's like, okay, like it gets to be one of those like it's just even though you didn't win the Super Bowl, like this is your 2nd Super Bowl appearance. The past 2 years, you won 1, you lost 1. You got a whole new offensive line. You made some changes, lost some things on defense. You made a lot of changes to the point where like it's going to take some time to adjust. Patrick Mahomes was trying to do too much early or whatever, make up for the lack of defense, but their defense has turned it up as of late and they're playing a lot better football. And so now, like we've always said, Mahomes never had a great defense. All he need was a defense good enough. I just need you to make 1 stop when it comes down to it. And you could tell early in the season, Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing like he trusted his defense to make that stop late in the game. Exactly. So he was trying to do too much. He was trying to, acclimate them with his talents and his playmaking abilities. And, sometimes he saw things that weren't there or just did too much. But they turned it around. And like you said, I'm with you. I think they marched through the AFC. And then I think, they marched through the AFC and we'll see this gauntlet of the NFC, at least in 5 teams. There's Arizona, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Bucks. And the Cardinals, I can make an argument for all of them. Like, we might buy some arguments, we might buy into more teams more than others, but those 5 teams, and then on the outside looking in, is the West Coast Indianapolis Colts, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. I think the 49ers and the Colts, and Stu will kill me for saying this, so I hope Stu's not watching. The 49ers and the Colts are the two most dangerous teams, the most dangerous team in each conference, because they're turning into getting healthy into the season, looking great, having a formula, play defense, run the ball, and have your quarterback ask him to make minimal plays but make no mistakes. And that's kind of a formula for winning. And that's a team where if you allow their formula to formulate, you won't beat them. So they're going to be that matchup where I'm saying some of those, division winners are going to be like, yeah, what I got to do to keep winning and avoid Indianapolis, or, on the NFC side, like what I got to do to avoid playing San Francisco, because both teams are looking good, rolling late. They're getting healthy, if not fully healthy. And so outside of COVID or any major injury, like these teams are going to come into the playoffs stacked up. Well, the only thing is you just might not trust their quarterback more than the opposing teams, but it might not come down to the quarterback.
Yep. And they got games that travel. That's the thing where I could, I'm not even hate to say it, but people keep on saying, well, if Indy has to go to New England, it'd be a different story. Not necessarily. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Like they got a game that travels.
Run the ball. Yeah, they can run the ball.
That's
that's the key thing here is they can run the ball. So
yeah, and like you said, they can go anywhere. I think they can go anywhere. Both those two teams can go anywhere. I'm not necessarily saying that they can beat them, but they'd be very formidable. Like it's a team that you don't want to, you want to avoid at all costs, because what how they're structured, and it's just like you're gonna have to have a valiant effort against this team. They're gonna just be pushovers and layovers. Like they were a team that struggled in the beginning. Now they found their groove, and that's a dangerous team.
And I think Indianapolis, and I know this might sound crazy, but I think if I'm the Colts and I look at all the AFC contenders or possibilities of where I could play, and so you're looking at possibly a first round matchup being in Buffalo, possibly Kansas City, maybe New England, and even like Cincinnati. So you're talking about a cold weather in January. I think Cincinnati pans out and matches up against those teams better away. I know the crowd plays a factor, but those could be games where the weather plays a factor and it's get it out the trenches. And I like the Colts front lines on offense and defense a lot more than some of those other teams. So if it becomes trench football and running the ball, like that's their recipe, that's their bread and butter. Where if teams have to come to Indianapolis, you know what I'm saying, then they could close that and weather does not become a factor and it's just who's better. And at that point in time, I think Kansas City would be able to beat them. I think New England, they kind of match up fairly well. I know like they kind of dominated them most of the game, but still Bill is not going to come back if he has to play New England again and let that happen. He's going to adjust. We know that. So I think they'll be better off playing one of those division winners away, because that cold weather and that possibly taking away the heavy throwing of the football could actually benefit Indy a lot.
Yeah, big time. So let's put a bow on this week's Overreaction Monday. Mo, in social media and upcoming projects, what you got?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Up in Flames Pod. Or Mo_Cheese15, same for Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok now. Mo_Cheese15. Shout out to my guy, CouchCoach, the man who made me create a TikTok. I planned this about 6 weeks ago. But I saw you drop your first video and I said, you dropped your second one, and I said, man, what would it be for me? What would it take for me to create a TikTok? I said, you know what? Dallas beating Washington would be good enough for me to create a TikTok. I created it that day, made the video, all fun and games. I might pay for it next week. So, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I made it and I'm prepared. I know I'm going to catch the heat. But, you follow me on TikTok, Mo_Cheese15, post clips from a lot of the shows that I do. So definitely, just, another platform to post that sports analysis and stuff like that. But once again, go check offtheballnetwork.com for all your sports season entertainment, all the other great shows. Download Dash Radio. Tune in every Monday, Wednesday and Saturday. We got shows from the network. We got Off the Ball Network Mondays. And then you got shows on Wednesdays and Saturdays as well. So, make sure you do that and favorite the Nothing But Net channel to hear all the hoops content. And who knows, we might just take over Dash Radio, bring all the football guys on and just call it Off the Ball Network Radio. Verified.
Hey, that sounds like a plan.
It could happen, all right? You just never know.
2022
Hey,
is on the horizon.
Yep.
Year 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Facebook, CouchCoach Live. Check out the podcast anyway. Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Football Gas podcast. Definitely huge shout out to my co-host Rob from the Football and Chill podcast. And also see you Sunday. We do that on Saturdays, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll kind of discuss about this week and next week because I know it's gonna fall on holidays, but once we get that squared away, we'll let everybody know on our socials. And that's just about it, man. Once again, appreciate you, Mo, for coming on again this week for OverReaction Monday. Let's do this again next Monday.
100%. I'm here. I love OverReaction Monday. I'm here.
Yes. Win or lose, we'll be here.
I might have to face it next week. So, I might have to face it next week. So, y'all came on respectfully. I'll come on respectfully. But, it is what it is. The
first thing I thought is that would be we might have to give up our division crown next week. I mean, on Sunday. I'm like, oh, gosh. That's going to be...
Sorry about that.
I'm like, man, we gotta play, bro. We gotta win, man.
Sorry about that.
No, we gotta... Yeah, man. Definitely appreciate you once again, Mo, for coming here on OverReaction Monday. And man, we'll catch you guys next week. Yes, and we out. All right.